Okay, so I do want to spend a lot of time on this slide because it's the most important one. I also provided it in that handout there because the font's a little bit small and it's probably hard to see from the back. So this is the entire design process. This is the whole thing. We're only going to be talking today about this to this, but I just wanted, for the sake of this presentation, to put the entire design process on the board for you all to see. So as I mentioned, we start with this problem statement, this kind of nebulous, hazy thing, and then we take that through the process of ideation into an idea, which I define as a weighted list of opportunities which are derived from outcomes and constraints. There's a lot of words in there, and I'm going to put definitions on them in a little bit, so just for now, just accept it and we'll move on. After you have an idea, say you have a really good idea, you need to determine if it's a really good idea by doing something I call a market segmentation analysis. So you need to determine whether or not there's going to be people that are going to actually purchase and use the device that you create. Because the device is wonderful, but if nobody needs it, is it really that wonderful? And that doesn't mean that, if you can't make money off something, don't pursue the idea. You should pursue the idea, but you should do something called open sourcing it, which is just making it available for free so that patients can benefit from it. But say you do this market segmentation, you think, you know what, I want to make $3 or $4 million, let's make a prototype. That's the next step. So that process is called design translation. That's when you take each of these opportunities, these salient opportunities, the most important ones that you find during your ideation process, and you take those and you design a physical thing to meet those outcomes. Now you can get a prototype from making a file on your computer, going to a UPS store. They have 3D printers there. You could work with somebody like Gulden who will help you to take your device to market. We basically pick up from here and go through the rest of the chain. But there's lots of options once you have a prototype. Once you have a prototype, you can actually recruit investors and that sort of thing. After that comes this design revision feedback loop, which it isn't really fair that I didn't give it a box. I don't know why I didn't box it, because it's actually the longest step in this entire process, besides perhaps quality control. The design revision feedback loop is basically making incremental changes to your prototype until it meets all the needs of the customer. So at the end of the day, these are things like, well, we know our device needs a handle, but is it going to be a silicone handle? Is it going to be a hard rubber handle, a plastic handle, a metal handle? Is it going to be knurled? All those different things are determined during this design revision feedback loop, and that's basically disseminating prototypes to end users and getting feedback on what works, what doesn't, what they'd like to change about that prototype. After you do that for a while, and that can be months, that can be years, you come into this phase where you have a final prototype, which is a completely functional product that's designed for mass production. And that's the key phrase there. I want to highlight that phrase, designed for mass production. Because once again, you can have a lovely, wonderful prototype that does everything you need it to. But if a manufacturing company isn't able to actually produce that for a reasonable cost, then you have nothing. You're going to want to make sure that your product, and this is something that we do all the time at Gulden, we want to make sure that we can scale it up. So can we scale the prototype up? Can we make, it's great that we made 1 or 2 prototypes, can we make 2,000? So that's the question that we want to answer here in this block. After that, and our quality manager would disagree with me, he would say quality control is about everything, it's about this whole thing. But in reality, it comes into play here. And it's basically the goal of quality control is to make sure that when you're producing, when you're doing mass production of medical devices, you're not making mistakes too frequently. You're not making mistakes, and if you do make mistakes, you're making mistakes that aren't going to harm the patient. So the FDA comes in and they want to talk to your quality control manager. If you're a business, if you're a company that makes medical devices, that's going to be a really tough couple of days for you if you're the quality manager. But after that, say you get your device and all the quality documents are in order, everything's legal, you're ready to go, you're ready to sell it. That's where this little special sales and marketing star comes into play. I just put it there because just for the sake of completeness to do the entire design process. But there's a lot that goes into sales and marketing, and it definitely deserves a bigger spot on this slide. But again, you can do this entire process, and you can have a medical device that's quality controlled, it's scaled up for mass production, it addresses all the opportunities, it's going to be huge, it's going to sell millions. But if nobody knows about it, does it even exist?